This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So let's see today how to create the environments. So now, creating environment in the sense I'm going to create VPCs and then subnets, also route tables, a route table, and then internet gateway. So why internet gateway? It's in public subnet. Okay. And then we go with route table association. So route table association. So we're going to do all these things. So let's see first how do you create these ones. Moving on to log into our instance. That's our instance. Just log in. Just a minute. IP address, and then change all the settings. Change the phone setting. Well, so where is our Terraform directory? There I want to create all my Terraform scripts. So let's make a directory. Let's say create environment, and then cd create environment, and then here first I'm going to create main.ef file. So I will be creating different resource types. Okay. So let's see what else we do. So provider first. Just a second. So provider, and then AWS is a provider, and then the name of the provider. Let's say. So there is no name for the provider. We have the names for the only resources, not for the providers. Okay. So region. So go with the region AP South 1. Then also the version. Go with version. And then comes resource types. So what is the first resource I'm going to create? So I'm going to create an VPC resource. Okay. So EC2 resource will be created that last. Okay. So I'm going with VPC first. Now, so I have these 3 files again. Anyway, now these 3 files you can use them. Now we know the purpose of these 3 files. Now what do? You just try with I'm going to create them without variables, but from your side, you create that with variables. Okay. So like we know the concept of variables, we can try these variables here. I've defined all the variables over here and try these variables. Just only the purpose is variables, nothing else. But so we can try that from your side, variables. I will be showing everything writing in our main.tf file. So without variables, but you try that with variables. Now first create a VPC. Okay. So, and resource is AWS underscore VPC, and then name. I'm going to give a name. Let's say name is dev underscore VPC. Okay, that's our VPC name. And then assuming that I'm creating an so dev environment, and then so you have CIDR block for the VPC. Okay, and the CIDR block 0, let's say slash so 24 CIDR block, and then so what is required for VPCs? We also provide the tags, right? Okay, you can provide the tags and plus, so yeah, you want to also enable that DNS support. You can enable the DNS support, also enable that DNS host names. You want to provide some host names and DNS support, you can also do that. So you can try that. Well, and these are the two things. And then so go with make sure we provide some names to them. So tags. So tags equals to give some tags. And then so name is equals to, and the names, so let's say dev underscore VPC. Okay, but so that's the first thing, first resource type. And the second resource type is, so what do? We create a subnet. Now rather than creating a subnet, so what I prefer is I create an internet gateway. Okay, so I create internet gateway. So why internet gateways? So the subnets I'm going to create is a public subnet. Since it's a public subnet, we must have internet gateway. So I'm creating internet gateway. And what's the resource type? For the resource type is AWS underscore internet underscore gateway. That's an gateway. Okay. Well, so resource and this, so internet gateway. But and give a name. Let's say so dev underscore VPC and underscore so internet gateway. Okay, and then so go with, so this is internet gateway. So internet gateways must be created under some VPCs. So what VPC? I'm going to create them under so dev VPC, right? So whenever you create them, make sure you create them under some VPC. So mention the VPC ID there. So VPC underscore ID, and the VPC ID is, how do you call the VPC ID? So with the help of resource name, okay, and then resource type plus resource name. So what is that? So AWS underscore VPC and then dot dev underscore VPC, okay, and then dot ID, and provide some tags. So provide some tags to this. Say name is equals to is, let's say dev underscore VPC underscore internet gateway. Okay. That's for that. And then next we go with, so try with we can go with the route table there. So what is the purpose of route table? Okay, we create a subnet, then we go route table. Fine, wonderful. Whatever it is, sequence does not matter. If sequence does not matter, we can create it in any sequence. Let's create a subnet then. So since we have a so VPC and also we have an internet gateway, now I can create a subnet. Okay, so let's see. What should be okay here? We can do it. So create a subnet. AWS underscore subnet, and then so name is, let's say dev underscore VPC, let's say pub underscore subnet. So it is the public subnet for dev VPC. Okay, and then so open, close, and so go with first mention it's an VPC, right? So mention the VPC ID. The VPC ID was so AWS so underscore VPC and then dot. So yeah, VPC name. So what was the VPC name? We can even copy that. Just try to copy that. Okay, right. And next is it's in subnet, right? So for subnets, yeah, mention the CIDR block. Okay, so go with CIDR block. The CIDR block is 10.0.0.0 and then /24. So mention the CIDR block. And also, so whenever we launch VPCs and subnets, and there is an option called enable public IP address. So when you launch your instances in different VPCs apart from default, we need to enable the IP address. So that is what I'm going to do. Enable IP address on launch. So I go with public IP address on launch. I want to make it true. Okay. So now map. So public IP address. Okay. Sorry, that's not public. Map public IP on launch. So I want to make it true. Okay. So if you don't launch your instances on default VPCs, the public IP is by default disabled. I want to enable that. So go with that true. True means enable it. And then so provide the names, tag names and everything. Oh, we also need the availability zone, right? Okay. So go with availability zones. Availability underscore zone. Availability zone. And then mention some zone here. So whatever the zone you like to create. So where are we creating under AP South? So 1A. So provide that under 1A. Okay. Then so in this example, what do you see? I have provided these ones. So under variable file. Okay. So you can do that again. So there you see that that's a variable. So where is it? Something the availability zone. So there are created and use is 2A. Okay. Well, now, so going back to our availability zone and then provide a tag. Okay. So name is equals to, let's say, which is so dev underscore subnet, dev underscore VPC, okay, underscore public subnet, pub underscore subnet. Okay, and that is my subnet regarding. Then we can go with. So next is route table. So why route table is required? So if we have internet gateway, also we have a subnet. Right? How do you associate this subnet with internet with your internet gateway? That's why we need a route table. Okay, for association purpose. But let me first create a route table, and also I'm going to put CIDR block for that. Okay. So resource, and then so which is so route underscore table, so AWS underscore route table, okay. And then give a name, let's say so dev underscore VPC underscore so route table. Okay. Open and then close. Once you create the route table, then we can proceed with associated. Okay. So now even for the route table we need CIDR block. Okay, we need CIDR blocks for the route tables. So there you have CIDR block. But anyway, first you mentioned the VPC ID, right? So this is a VPC ID again. So VPC ID is, I take that VPC ID. Okay, that's the ID. I'm just copying it. Okay, and then route information. So here under route information, you mention your route CIDR block. Okay. So since it's an route table for public, so I can provide that open to all, right? The CIDR block, so which is open to all. Okay. So just is no equals to go with CIDR block, and which is open to all. Okay. So I go with open to all. We know this, right? The source type open to all. Okay. So 0.0.0.0/0 open to all. This one. And also you can provide some internet gateway ID. Okay. Under what gateway you are creating. So we already have created a gateway, right? There is my gateway. Okay. So for what gateway you are creating your route table. So mention that. So gateway underscore ID. So the gateway ID is nothing but that's our gateway ID. Okay. So dot ID at the end, and then remove these quotations. I have copied it. Okay, that's our gateway ID. Since we are getting a route table should be having some gateways. That's a gateway. That is the reason I have created gateway first. Okay. Now we also have gateways and then route tables, but the question is how to associate this route table to the VPC. So we need to associate it, right? So let's associate. And for association, so we have a different resource type, AWS underscore route table association. That's association. Okay, well, so go with that. Okay. Association, which is resource. Okay. And what is a resource then? That's a resource. It's a different resource. We have AWS route underscore table. Okay. And then give some name here. Let's say dev underscore VPC underscore association. Let's say. So let's say association. Okay. Open and then close. And then you mention your subnet. Mention the subnet and then route table. Okay. So what is the subnet ID? Subnet underscore ID. And so get the subnet ID. Okay. So that's my subnet ID. Take the subnet ID. So dot ID at the end, and then so we go with dot. So resource name, right? So we have resource name, and then so resource type, and then resource name, then dot ID. Okay. So and then also you mentioned the route table. Okay. So that is why we need. That is how you associate route table with your subnet. Okay. So that's okay. And then go with route table. So what is the route table we have created? So that's our route table, right? So mention the route table here. That's the next thing. So go with the route table ID. Okay, route table ID. Just copy that. So these are like lengthy ones, so better we copy that. Route table ID. And then so where is that route table ID? That's our route table. Okay, take the route table. So dot ID, and then dot. That's our route table. Okay, even the association is done, right? So we also have association done. So we have created route tables and all these things, and then association also is done. Route table. That is how the route table is associated. We need route table. Okay, right. So finally, so we have created route tables and we have created internet gateways. All good. But how about the security groups of the instance? Okay. Also, I would like to provide some securities to the instance. Okay. So that means, yeah, now here I'm going to create AWS security group. Okay, let's create a security group, and later I'm going to associate this security group to the instance. Now, so that's the resource type, AWS underscore security underscore group, and go with the resource. The resource is okay, that's the resource, AWS underscore security underscore group resource, and then what we have. So the name, okay, we can give some name, whatever name you like to give, something like this. You can give any name, let's say, whatever. But now go with, those are just names, only for namesakes. And then security groups has two types of, right? So one is ingress, other one is egress. So we have two types, ingress and egress means inbound, egress means outbound. So here you have egress and then ingress. Okay, first you go with ingress and also you have egress. Sorry. So, but before that, mention the name, also give a name and then VPC. So do that first. Name, just give a name to that. You can give any name, go with name, and then what is that? Your submit ID, right? Mention the submit VPC ID. Sorry, mention the VPC ID. What was the VPC ID? That's a VPC. Okay, and then now you go with ingress. Okay, I'm going with ingress means inbound and egress means outbound. We have these two. Okay, now what type of rules I'm setting up? I'm setting up to 22 port number, and that's the protocol TCP. So setting up 22. Okay, so and then outbound. So outbound is like anything. So I just copy that ingress egress. So that I have ingress, and which is for port 22. Of course, it is TCP. And CIDR block means we know that source type, right? The source is like this is a source. That means from anywhere. Okay. And egress, that is egress. That's a CIDR block. Okay. And then, so you want to provide some tags to this. Just provide a tag. Okay. Well, then name is equals to, so let's say our inbound, okay, let's say your security group name, what we need, dev underscore VPC underscore security group, PDVP security group. Right. Now we have security groups, and then go with, so SSH key pair. Now, so here you want to create some key pair over here. You can also create a key pair. Okay, you can create a key pair with this, so which is AWS underscore key pair. You can create a key pair, but I don't want to create a new key pair. Instead, I want to use existing one. So I would go with that. So straight away jump onto AWS instance. Okay, so let's see. So resource, and then which is AWS underscore instance. And so what is that? Which is, let's say dev underscore VPC underscore instance 1. Okay, so go with all the required things. So what is required? So whenever you create instance, you need AMI, instance AMI. Okay, take the AMI. I take some AMI over here. So we have AMIs. Should have AMIs. It should be somewhere here. I take some random AMI. It's okay. So go with that AMI. Okay, that's AMI. And then so instance underscore type. The type is which is t2.micro. Okay, and then we mention so your subnet, right? So mention the subnet ID there. So go with the subnet ID, subnet underscore ID. So what is the subnet ID? So we get the subnet ID here. I think we can take it from here. That's the subnet ID. Okay, copy that. Subnet ID, and then mention the security group name. Okay, so mention the security group, VPC security group IDs. Go with that security group. Okay, so VPC underscore security underscore group IDs, security group, and then so what is the security group name? And just scroll up. Okay, security group name with ID always. Okay, and there it is. Okay. And so dot ID, and then dot, and then also there it is, security group ID. Okay. Then so we also have a let's say you want to associate some key underscore name. Okay, go with the key name. So I go with some key name. The key name I would like to provide here itself. So what is the key name? I take some key name here. It's a key name, but it's a key name. And I think that's all. I think so. We do the tags. Okay, that's just mandatory. Mandatory. Go with tags. So provide the tags. And then so name is equals to let's say name is dev underscore VPC underscore instance 1. Okay, so dev VPC instance 1. So finally what we have done again, so let me go through the script. So first provider first, and then resource, which is VPC resource in the VPC CIDR block. And then so AWS internet gateways, and there you create an internet gateway, and that internet gateway so you create on VPC we are creating. So there it is. Next is subnet, and under subnet so you mention the VPC ID, CIDR block, enable the IP address, and then mention the availability zone. So next is route table. So route table, create a route table. And so we associate internet gateway with our route table. Okay, but you need to create internet gateway, then you can associate it. So you create a route table first, then you associate it. So straight away you cannot, while you create a route table, that cannot be associated. Okay. So now, but while I create that route table, I mentioned that gateway ID. I mentioned the gateway ID, but association will be done. So through here, there is the association. There is a different type for this. So subnet ID and then route table ID. Here association will be done. This is your gateway ID, but in this gateway ID, there is nothing mentioned regarding your what we call internet gateway something. Okay, right? That is not there.
Excuse me, sir.
Then you have association, route table association. After that, you have security groups. And the security groups, you have two things: security group in ingress and also egress. That means inbound and then outbound. And then finally, this is your instance. Under instance, you just mentioned your AMID instance type plus subnet. So these things we are familiar with it. So there's something which is new with this. Okay. Yeah. So moving on to
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
One spelling mistake is there under route table, which was gateway ID. I think so.
Route table, is it route table or table association?
Yeah, route table. In route table, gateway ID is there now. There. Gateway ID, sir.
Which one?
Gateway ID.
Gateway ID. Okay.
Yes.
So gateway ID. Then,
Spelling mistake is there in
yeah, got it.
gateway
Yeah.
ID.
Thank you. Okay. Gateway. Thank you. Right. So, and then save it now. Then go with. So Terraform and then plan first. But I think before you plan it, you need to initiate first, right? So go with Terraform and then init. So this is a very, very frequent question I came across almost like every interview these days. Okay, init, what init does. Okay? Remember that part. Now init, initiating plugins or downloading plugins. Also, other question is, so what are the Terraform versions you have been working with? So Terraform version. Remember these silly questions. These are very, very silly questions. Okay, so 13 version. Okay. Anyway, because we don't concentrate on those things. Terraform plan. Let's look at here. Okay, so there is something called incorrect attribute value for this. Okay, where is that? And line 70, it is security group IDs. Security group IDs. Let's find out what was it. Error. Okay. Dot here. At line 70, right? So let's take number. Okay, so there it is. Okay, the security group, right? See, well, for security group, there's a different representation actually. So the security group IDs needs to be within the square braces actually. That is a small different presentation it has for the security groups. I think I have missed that point. Okay, security group IDs must be within the square braces. So they follow this kind of syntax only for security groups. Okay. So that's something different. I think I missed that. But then again plan it. I think that should be correct. Yeah, all good. So we're creating 7 different resources over here. Okay. So it's like very simple, even though I was writing about 75 lines of code, but it's only one simple mistake. The only thing you need to do is you need to know the particular parameters. So if you have, and also what you need to call, that is required. So it's very simple. And go to subnets, get the parameters. Go to sub tables, get the parameters. If you know that AWS, and getting the parameters is simple. So go with Terraform and then apply. So let's see. Now confirm, yes. Okay, there is some error. Error launching source instance invalid. AMI ID. Oh, AMI ID was invalid. It was wrong AMI ID. It says invalid AMI ID. Okay, let's take a correct AMI. I think the AMI was incorrect. Okay, that's what the error message was. Okay, well, we can try that. Now again, so go with Terraform apply. So Terraform apply, it's not going to throw those errors. Those errors are runtime errors. Okay, invalid invalid AMI ID. So it is a runtime error. Terraform plan does not throw those errors. That's a runtime error, not the dry run error. So plan is going to give you only syntax errors, not the runtime errors. So all good, all created. And then, so what's next? Let's check this out on the console. First, let me refresh my instance. So now at 12, it has to be 13 now. So, there is our instance. Okay, that's instance. And then first, let me check in instance summary, and then so that's instance summary, and that's a VPC. And then let me check this subnet. Okay, so that's a subnet, right? And this is a VPC. You see the VPC, the VPC, and subnet. Now go to the subnets. So that's a subnet. Okay. Select this subnet. Okay. So, and that's a VPC for this, and that's a CIDR block. And then, so route tables, and you can see that the route table here, that's our route table, which is internet gateway. I mean, that's a route table ID, and this is an internet gateway. Right. So, is it the correct internet gateway we have attached? Go with the internet gateway. Okay, you see that there VPC internet gateway. Yeah, and back to the route table. Okay, that's VPC. Of course, VPC is also correct. And check the route table. Okay. So route table, and that's our route table. So that's our correct route table. Anyway, that's a route table. If you want, you can check that from the TF file. Okay, TF state. You can call it TF state file or TF state. So TF state file. Open the TF state file. TF state file. Here you can see the whole information of that route table and then association, right? And also, let me check this under what availability zone this is created. Now go to the subnets. And then which is the subnet. This is the one, that's a subnet. And then I think you can check that from the instance, right? Because instance is launched under this subnet. I want to check the instance. Okay, go with the instance. Now this is Let's go back to the instance. We'll check it from there. Back to the instance. Instances. So where is my instance? And check that availability zone. It should be under 1A. So I want to check the availability zone. Search for that. Okay. Yeah, I can see here availability zone under 1A zone. We also have selected the availability zone. Okay. Right. So that's all created successfully. So we have internet gateways and everything, subnets, everything is also associated perfectly. Right. But what do you do? So you try to create a private subnet. Okay. So try to create a so that means saying, and what will be the difference? It is NAT gateway, right? So with there are gateways underscore, or let's say NAT gateway. Let's say search for gateway. Go with NAT gateways. So when you go with NAT gateways, so there is your LFD, yeah, and then subnet. So subnet ID, yeah. So that is what is required. AWS allocation ID, and then what's allocation ID? Allocation is nothing but elastic IP. So NAT gateways require elastic IP, right? You create elastic IP first. So how to create elastic IP? First do that, okay? So go with create elastic IP. So after you create the elastic IP, you associate that with so Terraform again. So there is underscore EIP. There is something called EIP, elastic IP. EIP, elastic IP. So now there is elastic IP. Okay. We mentioned the instance and also mention the VPCs. Okay. So and then you have elastic IP created. After elastic IP created, You take the ID of it and then associate it to the NAT gateways. Okay, so that is what you do. Okay, so that's only difference. Rest all the things are same. Okay, rest all the things are same. That means you just go with. So all the things you have route tables and everything will be the same. In the place of internet gateways, you just replace that with the help of NAT gateways. That's what you do. So wherever you have internet gateways, so those internet gateways you should replace that with. So go with AWS underscore NAT gateway. That's the change you do. And then VPC ID also the other parameter is, so mention the elastic IP ID. Okay, so that is what you do. Okay, but before that you get elastic IP. These two things are required. And then, but I want to create two different environments for this. I want to create dev environment, I want to create test environment. Then in that case you must use variables. Okay, so create a variables file. So what is a variable file names? Variable. Okay, so you create this file first. So variable.tf. You remember yesterday I have created them. So go with that. So variables, and then in the variables I created two files, variables.tf file or also so .tf_vas. So create these two. Okay, and go with so create environment, and here you just go with vi and then go with first so touch variables dot tf. Okay, and after that you create touch so dev environment dot tf vas. Okay, and also test environment dot tf vas. Okay, so these two. Then in variables define the variables. So what can be a variable? So in main.tf file and all these things you have CIDR block. So for example, take this resource. Okay, for this resource, what are the variables I'm going to mention? So this is this variable I will be changing it. So CIDR block, right? Okay, let's see variables dot so tf, and how to define them. So variable and then so variable name, so variable and variable name, and then you provide the so type, right? Go with that variable name. So variable name is, so I just name it. So what is that? VPC. So we are creating variable for CIDR block, right? Let's say VPC CIDR underscore block. Okay, and then open and then close, and there you go with the type. So type is equals to string tag. Okay, go with string, and then this variable, okay, I call it in our main.tf. So under CIDR block of VPC, so here I'm going to call my variable. So what was the variable name? Var dot, and so what was that? VPC underscore CIDR underscore block. And for this you want to define a value for this. Now you can define a value. Now go with, I'm defining a value for that under dev environment. So open that. So dev environment tf_vas. Then so what was that? Name of the variable was so VPC underscore CIDR underscore block, and then the value over here. Okay, so give some value there. and plus. So now we have done it on dev environment. So what if I want to do for test environment? Okay, and here go with VPC underscore cider underscore block, and which is there it is. Okay, to mention that cider block there. That is the cider block for your test environment. So like this, you define all your variables, right? The same example, you can take the same example. So from yesterday's. So wherever you see, like in AWS VPC, you can go with that. So what is that? You have cider plot and the internet gateways. Okay, and what we can make as an tag. So even tags also you can make variables. That's also good practice. So tags you can make them variables. Otherwise, we must recognize the names as well. So like tags object, within that objects you define your variables. So name of the variable, whatever variables you like to define. So wherever you feel, so you're repeating these values for different environments. So make them variables and then so define the values in these two files. Okay. So this is how you just go with creating your environments for different VPCs and different environments. Okay. And I think I have uploaded this folder as well. You can try this folder. I have mentioned here as well the variables dot variables values everything here. So you can just look at here. If you have any difficulties while you mention it, you can do that. Right. So this is, and you try for these two. Try for NAT gateways. Now this is my what I'm calling here. This is for public, right? That when you try for NAT gateways. So NAT gateways. So for private subnets. Okay, create these two different public and private subnets. And the most frequently asked scenario in Terraform is the question or scenario is. So this is a scenario. When you create a VPC, when you create a subnet and instance and add that subnet instance to public subnet. This is a very frequently used one, and you come across even at real-time level, you create the different environments over there. But we all come across variables only, not like this. So, and regarding tomorrow's session, so tomorrow you have so one concept is left in Jenkins, right? So now tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. I will be providing you the link for 8:30 a.m. You just attend with that link. So on that 8:30 a.m. session, and the session will be till about 8:30 to 10:15 something around. So 10:30 something around. Okay. So what are the topics left in Jenkins? So we'll be covering that in 8:30 time tomorrow. 8:30. I will be providing the link. Okay. And then shell script videos I will be sharing over the Google Drive. So you can refer the shell script videos. Okay. So and then so we have one more last session for our. So you asked for a kind of a project life cycle. You want to know that project life cycle, that session. So that session, so we'll be having on Monday, which is our last session for Monday.
Sir, shell scripting are you take classroom sessions?
Sorry.
Sir, shell scripting online sessions are to take.
So you just go through those sessions. So Saturday, Sunday, you have some time. Go through the sessions, and then if you have any questions, I can take a session. If you have any questions with that. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I will be sharing 8:30 link tomorrow.